Once upon a time, in a distant kingdom, there lived an old man and his wife. They had 3 sons, the youngest of whom was named Ivan. He worked tirelessly alongside his parents, helping them gather grain from dawn till dusk. One day, news spread throughout the kingdom that the most fearsome of all demons, Chudo Yudo, was approaching, threatening to destroy the land and burn down all the cities and villages. The old couple was greatly worried, and as they tried to comfort themselves, their 2 older sons assured them, "Don't be so worried, father. We will confront the demon Chudo Yudo and fight him. To make sure you're not alone, Ivan will stay with you since he is too young to join us in battle." "No," Ivan declared. "I don't want to stay at home waiting for you. I will go and fight Chudo Yudo too." His parents did not oppose him, and they prepared all 3 sons for the journey. The brothers picked up their heavy clubs and mounted their beautiful horses, setting off. As they traveled, they met an old man on the road. "Greetings, young men," the old man said. "Greetings to you, sir," they replied. "Where are you headed?" "We are going to fight the demon Chudo Yudo to protect our homeland." "That's a noble quest. But remember, brute strength won't help you against Chudo Yudo. You will need swords forged from Damascus steel." "Where can we find such swords, sir?" "I can tell you. Young men, ride straight ahead until you reach a high mountain. There, you will find a deep cave blocked by a large stone. Move the stone aside to enter the cave, and you will find the swords you—" The brothers thanked the old man and, following his instructions, guided their horses straight ahead. They soon saw a tall mountain, with a large gray rock blocking one side. The brothers pushed the rock aside and discovered an enormous array of weapons inside, so many that they couldn't even count them. They each picked up a sword and continued on their way. "The old man has been very kind to us. We owe him a great deal of thanks," they said. "These swords will surely make our fight easier." They rode on until they finally reached a village. However, it was a desolate place, devoid of people. They found a small hut, where they saw an old woman lying on a floor. "Greetings, dear lady." "Welcome, young men. Where are you headed?" "We are going to the bridge over the Yellow River to confront the demon Chudo Yudo, so that he cannot attack our land." "Oh, how noble of you. That wicked demon brings destruction wherever he goes, plundering and killing. He has done the same to us. I have been left all alone." The brothers spent the night at the old woman's house and rose early the next morning to continue their journey. They arrived at the river with the willows and the bridge adorned with berries, and they saw that the riverbank was strewn with broken swords, shattered boughs, and human bones. Nearby, there was a sturdy hut, and they decided to take shelter there. "My brothers, listen to me," Ivan said. "We have entered the territory of the enemies, and we need to stay alert and listen for every sound. Let's take turns keeping watch, so that the fiercest of foes cannot cross the berry bridge." The eldest brother took the first watch. He walked along the riverbank, keeping an eye on the other side. Everything was silent, nothing was in sight, and he heard nothing. So, he lay down beneath a bush and quickly fell asleep, snoring loudly. Meanwhile, Ivan was lying in the hut, unable to sleep, not even dozing off. When half the night had passed, he took up his Damascus steel sword and made his way toward the river. He saw his elder brother sleeping soundly under the bush, snoring loudly. But Ivan didn't wake him. Instead, he hid beneath the berry bridge and began to keep watch. Just then, the water of the river started to boil, and eagles began to cry out from the oak trees. The fiercest of foes, known for their 6 heads, arrived on horseback. As they reached the berry bridge, their horse started to tremble, and the black crow on its back brandished their spears, while the black dogs following them perked up their ears. Chudo Yudo, who had 6 heads, said, "My horse, why are you trembling? Black crows, why are you fluttering? Black dog, why are your ears perked up? Is a farmer's son coming? But he hasn't even been born yet, and even if he has, what is he to me? I could grab him with one hand and toss him away with the other." Hearing this, the farmer's son, Ivan, came out from under the bridge. "Chudo Yudo, you black-hearted monster, don't be so quick to strike," he shouted. "You haven't seen my strength yet. Don't think you can intimidate me. Come, let's see who can overpower the other, and whoever falls first will be caught." They moved closer, their swords clashing, causing the ground to shake. However, it was Chudo Yudo who fared poorly, as Ivan swiftly cut off 3 of his heads in one blow. "Ivan, farmer's son, wait," cried Chudo Yudo. "Let me catch my breath." "No, there's no breathing for you now. You have 3 heads, while I only have 1. Once your last head is gone, then we can rest." And they clashed again, with Ivan eventually severing the remaining 3 heads of Chudo Yudo. After that, he cut the monster's body into small pieces, threw them into the river, and placed the 6 heads under the bridge before returning to his hut to sleep. In the morning, Chudo Yudo's eldest brother arrived. Ivan saw him and asked, "Did you see anything, brother?" "No," the brother replied. "Not even a fly passed by." Upon hearing this, Ivan said nothing further. That night, the middle brother went on guard duty. He wandered here and there, looking in all directions, concluding that everything was quiet. So, he slipped into a thicket of bushes and fell asleep. But Yuan had given him the same assurance as he had given the oldest brother. When half the night had passed, he got ready and quickly drew his sword. Heading toward the rivers with a determined look, he hid under the berry bridge and began to wait. Suddenly, the water of the river began to boil, and the hawks started to screech from the oak trees. The demon, Chudayudo, with his 9 heads, arrived riding a horse. He advanced toward the berry bridge, and his horse trembled beneath him. The black crow sitting on his shoulder flapped its wings, and the black dog following behind perked up its ears. Chudayudo shouted, "Why is my horse trembling? Why is the crow flapping its wings? Why are the dog's ears up? Is the peasant boy Yuan here? But he hasn't even been born yet. Even if he were, he wouldn't be able to confront me, for I would easily throw him aside." Hearing this, the peasant boy Yuan leapt out from under the bridge. "Stop, Chudayudo," he shouted. "First, let's clash swords, then I'll see what you've got. We'll see who will perish." And Yuan charged at Chudayudo, striking at him with his sword made of Damascus steel, severing one head, then another. Then Chudayudo retaliated, pushing Yuan down into the muddy ground. But Yuan grabbed a handful of dirt and threw it into the demon's fiery red eyes. When the demon was blinded, rubbing his eyes, Yuan cut off the remaining 3 heads. He then took the severed heads and threw them into the river, placing the 9 heads beneath the berry bridge, and returned to his hut, lying down as if nothing had happened. In the morning, his middle brother came back. "Did you see anything during the night?" Yuan asked him. "No," he replied. "Not even a fly passed by me, nor a mosquito." "Huh! If that's the case, my dear brothers, come with me," Yuan said, "and I'll show you both a mosquito and a fly." And Yuan led his brothers to the berry bridge and showed them the 2 demon heads. "This is," he said, "the flies and mosquitoes that fly around here at night. And you, my brothers, are not meant for fighting but for keeping the cooking pot warm." The 2 brothers lowered their heads in shame. "We were overtaken by sleep," they admitted. On the 3rd night, Yuan prepared to go on watch. "Tonight, I must face a great battle," he said. "You, my brothers, do not fall asleep, but listen for the sound of my whistle. When you hear it, bring my horse to me quickly and come to my aid." Having said this, the peasant boy Yuan went to the river, hid under the berry bridge, and began to wait. It was only halfway through the night when the ground began to shake. The river water started to boil, wild winds began to howl, and the hawks screeched from the oak trees. The demon Chudayudo, with his 12 heads, approached riding a horse. The 12 heads were spewing fire, and flames were leaping from them. Chudayudo's horse was adorned with golden hooves and had a mane of copper and a tail of iron. Chudayudo came to the berry bridge, and suddenly his horse trembled beneath him. The black crow on his shoulder flapped its wings, and the black dog following behind perked up its ears. Chudayudo struck at the horse's sides, at the crow's wings, and at the dog's ears. "Why is my horse trembling?" he shouted. "Why is the crow flapping its wings? Why are the dog's ears up? Is the peasant boy Yuan here? But he hasn't even been born yet. Even if he were, he wouldn't be able to confront me. I could blow him away with a single breath, and he wouldn't even have a handful of dirt left." Hearing this, the peasant boy Yuan emerged from beneath the berry bridge. "Wait, don't strike out randomly, Chudayudo," he called out, "or you'll find yourself in a shameful predicament." "Ah, you are the peasant boy Yuan. What brings you here?" "I, the wicked demon, have come to see you and test your courage." "Test my courage, by all means. You are nothing but a fly to me," Yuan replied. "I haven't come here to listen to your stories or to tell tales. I have come to battle you, to rid the good people of your existence." And the peasant boy Yuan drew his sharp sword and cut off 3 of Chudayudo's heads. But Chudayudo caught them and retaliated with his powerful blows, striking at Yuan and forcing him to the ground, connecting with a mighty thud, as if they had never been separated. By then Evan's condition had worsened, as Chudayudo was deafening his ears with fangs, killing him with their flaming tongues, showering him with sparks and pushing him up to his knees in the wet mud. "Why, farmer's boy, Evan, take a breath," Chudayudo chuckled. "Don't talk about breathing," Evan replied. Kill, leave everything, I will do it." Then he whistled loudly and hit his right glove on the hut, where his brothers were, and glove broke all the windows. But the brothers remained asleep and did not hear anything. Then, Farmer turned Evan exerted all his might, swung his sword with such vigor as he had never wielded before, and he cut off 6 of Chudo Yudo's heads. But Chudo Yudo picked them up and immediately joined them as if they had always been there. Then he fell on Farmer turned Evan and pushed him in the wet soil. Evan realized that the situation was very bad. He took off his left glove and hit the hut, and the glove rolled into the roof. But both brothers remained asleep and they did not hear anything. Then Farmer turned Evan struck for the 3rd time with his sword, and cut off 9 heads of Chudo Yudo. But Chudo Yudo picked them up and put his finger on them and then stuck them on their fingers again, and they immediately joined them. Then he fell on Farmer turned Evan and pushed him up to his shoulders in the wet mud. But Evan took off his helmet and hit the hut, and the hut shook and swayed and fell. Only then did the brothers wake up, and they heard Evan's horse neighing loudly and trying to break the chain with which he was tied. He ran to the stable and untied the horse and followed him.
Evan's horse galloped up to his master and started kicking the Chudo Yudo. And Chudo Yudo dropped the shovel and threw sparks on the horse. And Ivan the farmer pulled himself out of the dirt and quickly cut off Chudo Yudo's finger. And then he began to take off his head and took off until there was none left. After this, he cut her flesh into small pieces and threw them into the river. At the same time, both the elder brothers arrived. "You're a wonderful couple too," Evan said. "Having fallen in love with your sleep, I had to give my life." Then both brothers took him to the hut, bathed him, fed him, and put him to sleep. In the morning, Evan got up early and started to get dressed. "Why do you get up so early?" asked his brothers. "You need rest after a hard fight." "No, I can't rest," Evan said. "My belt got lost near the riverbank, and I'm going to look for it." "What's the need?" the brothers replied. "I will go to the city and buy a new belt there." "No, I want my old belt." And Ivan went alone towards the riverbank. But he did not stop to look for his belt. He went to the other side of the river, passing through the bridge of berries, and so stealthily that he was not seen by anyone, he reached the stone palace of Chudo Yudo. He crawled over to an open field and sat down there, listening carefully, because he wanted to hear if someone was gathering resin. He looked, and he saw, sitting inside were the 3 wives of the Chudo Yudos and their mother, the old serpent. They were sitting there and talking to each other. The first wife said, "The farmer's son said, I will take revenge on Ivan's family. When he and his brothers are returning home, I will run in front of them, make the heat of the day unbearable, and become a well myself. They will thirst for water, and will fall dead after taking the first sip." "You are right," said the old serpent. The second wife said, "I will run in front of them and turn into a mango tree. As soon as they eat mangoes, they will immediately fall down." "You are right too," the old serpent said again. The third wife said, "And I will cast a spell of sleep upon them. I will rush before them and become a soft, silk-covered carpet. The brothers will want to lie down and rest, but they will be burned to ashes." "And you didn't say anything better," the old serpent replied. "But if you 3 can't kill them, I will become a huge monster, and then I will go and devour all 3 of them." The farmer Ivan listened to their conversation and quickly returned to his brothers. "Did you find anything, brother?" they asked him. "I did find something. And it was worth wasting so much time?" "It was, brothers, it was." Then the 3 brothers prepared to head home. They passed through fields and pastures, and the sun was so scorching that they felt they would die if they didn't drink water. They glanced around and soon spotted a well from which a silver bucket was hanging. The 2 elder brothers said to Ivan, "Ivan, let's stop and drink some cool water and give our horses a drink too." "What if the water in this well is dirty?" Ivan replied, and swinging from his horse, he took his sword and began to strike at the well. As he did so, they started hearing screams and cries from the well, and suddenly mist enveloped them. The heat diminished, and their thirst seemed to vanish. "Did you see, brothers, what kind of water was in that well?" Ivan said. They moved ahead, and a long time passed, though no one knew exactly how much. As they went along, they noticed a tree laden with large yellow mangoes. Both elder brothers dismounted their horses and reached for the mangoes. However, Ivan was more cautious. He drew his sword and began to chop at the roots of the tree, causing it to scream and shake. "Did you see that, brothers? What kind of mangoes is this? The mangoes on it isn't sweet," Ivan said. Then all three climbed back onto their horses and continued on. They traveled for quite a while and began to feel very tired. They glanced around and spotted a soft, inviting carpet laid out with silk cushions on it. "Let's lie down on the carpet and rest our weary bodies for a while," said the two elder brothers. "No, brothers, the carpet doesn't feel soft," Ivan replied. Hearing this, the two elder brothers became angry. "Why do you keep giving us advice?" they asked. "We should do this, and we shouldn't do that." Ivan did not respond at all. He took off his saddle and threw it onto the carpet, which immediately burst into flames. "You should not complain about me," Ivan told his brothers. He approached and began cutting the carpet and cushions with his sword. He cut their ties and threw them aside, saying, "Brothers, the mangoes tree, and the carpet were not what they appeared to be. They were traps meant to kill us, but instead, they ended up destroying themselves." As the brothers moved ahead, they quickly got far away, and no one noticed. But suddenly, the sky turned dark, the wind began to howl, and the ground started shaking, making strange noises. They saw a large wild boar charging after them. They quickly opened their satchels and prepared to deal with it. However, the three of them were not so simple. They took out a handful of salt from their bags and threw it into the boar's open mouth. The boar was overwhelmed with joy, thinking that the farmer's boys had caught it, and started to lick the salt. But as it realized it was just salt, it ran off again. The boar dashed away, its bristles standing on end, teeth grinding, and it soon approached them again. Seeing this, the eldest brother told his siblings to split up and take different directions. One brother went right, the other left, while the eldest himself went straight ahead. The boar came charging in, but got confused about which direction to pursue first. When it was caught in this dilemma, shaking its head, the eldest brother lunged at it, grabbed it, and threw it to the ground with all his strength. The boar was crushed into the earth, and the dirt blew away in the wind. From that day on, no demon, python, or snake ever appeared in those areas again, and the people lived without fear. As for the farmers, Ivan and his two brothers, they returned to their parents and continued to live happily, sowing their fields and planting their crops.